Hey there, saltwater anglers, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report. It's your local report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. This podcast is part of the Great Days Outdoors Network, and each week we're talking with local experts to learn ways we can become better anglers in our pursuits offshore, nearshore, and inshore. And to help keep this amazing fishery healthy and thriving for generations to come, let's remember to protect what we pursue. It's springtime, waters are warming up, and fish are on the move. So let's hear who's making this show possible and then find out what's been biting. Check it out. AFTCO has a gift for our listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. Whether I'm walking the dock or the deck, I love my AFTCO fishing boots. You cannot beat the comfort. And as temps warm up, the Samurai Sun Shirt will keep you cool and protected. To get your coupon code, just text LCBFR to 779-345-2918. You'll get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. Upgrade your waterfront with Killer Doc's premium dock furniture, built to last a lifetime in marine conditions. Crafted from marine-grade aluminum with a protective anti-corrosion coating, it's tough enough to handle the elements while providing unmatched comfort. Featuring sunbrella cushions with fast-drying, removable covers, our furniture stays securely in place even in storms. Choose from cabanas, club chairs, love seats, tables, and more to create your perfect dockside retreat. Durability meets elegance at Killer Doc. Check out the full collection at killerdoc.com today. All right, you guys, I am excited to bring a guest back on who we've had on the show a couple of times, but she does something really cool for the community. Her name is Ava Bourne, the daughter of Josh Bourne, Wingman Guide Service. And last year she debuted, and let me make sure I get this right, it was your senior project for the law program at
Correct.
First Colonial.
Yes.
And you had this crazy idea. So just recap of like where the idea came from and how it went last year.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And for my senior project, I had to complete, it started early on in the year, and I had to do a research topic that I could somehow turn into a project, for the community. And, looking back 5 years, I started working with Hooked on Hope, taking pediatric cancer families out on the water, in the bay, fishing, in the creeks in Lynnhaven, giving these people experiences. And I knew I wanted to somehow bring that to a different side of the community, and a community that hadn't seen Hooked on Hope or the things that Hooked on Hope had done before. So I picked my topic for my paper, which was a big research project on the social emotional effects that the cost of pediatric cancer treatment has on the families walking through pediatric cancer. And then with that, I knew I wanted to make it a little bit lighthearted and bring it to the community in a way that would benefit rather than just educate. And I wanted to go back to my roots of why I know what I know and where this passion came from. So I decided to do the fishing tournament. And with that, I started planning and decided to go along with the name Tight Lines for Tiny Fighters, and donated all my money back to a cancer organization that directly supports families. The money that was raised goes to things like car payments, rent, if you need your washer dryer replaced, your oil changed and you can't afford it that month, because a lot of the time families and parents and individuals are having to make choices that the average person doesn't consider on the day to day, whether or not they're going to have gas for the week, or their kid, can have groceries to go to school. So with that, I was able to complete this tournament. It was extremely successful. Very happy with how it went, and with the support that we had, I knew it was possible to bring it back this year, and make it bigger and better than we had before.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys had how many total entries last year? And this
I
was
believe we had 22.
22. Okay,
22 entries.
Which is great for, first time doing a tournament, especially with a new category, 3 fish stringer for puppy drum. And one of the cool things about your event that I really hope, I would love to see at least 40 to 50 entries this year. We're going to pray for some really good weather. But the cool thing about your tournament is that it's open to boaters, kayakers, and people that fish from shore. So that's really cool. And break down for us the registration prices for folks if they want to get involved.
Yeah, so for fishing registration, like we said, there's three different categories. You can choose to fish from your boat. With the boat, it's $150,
Okay.
and whatever the legal amount of people you can have on your boat is as many people as you can fish. There's no limitation on that. You can have your fun team name. And then we looked at the second category, and this is the kayakers.
Okay.
We actually had a good group of kayakers, and the gentleman who took home first place last year fished in a kayak.
Nice.
So with that, I believe it's $75 this year to register
Hmm.
via kayak. And then I wanted to give the opportunity for those who don't, fish through a boat or a kayak or don't have access to that. And you're able to fish off land. You can catch plenty of good puppy drum in the river off land, just off some docks. And that's
Yep.
$25 per person. That is an individual entry. But with that, you can choose to fish wherever Virginia water you want, as long as you're not in some kind of vessel. Um, but like I said, that gives the opportunity for those who don't have access to a vessel of some sort to fish.
Right. And I'm thinking about everybody that can go down to, any dock, anywhere inside
Yep.
the Lynnhaven, underneath the Lynnhaven Bridge. If you're listening and you live on Broad Bay or live anywhere on the water back in, Bird Neck Point, and you've got kids that like to fish off the dock, throw the $25 in the pot, get them involved. I mean, last year you guys raised what, almost 4,000 or just over $4,000 to donate to
Yeah.
AES?
So we raised over 4,000, and 4,000 exactly went back to the company or to the organization AES, run by Trip Seed and his family.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with the tournament, the reason we were able to raise so much money is because it's a cashless prize tournament. So all of our prizes for first, second, and third place came directly from sponsors
Nice.
and companies that wanted to give back to the community, which is, again, half the reason that this tournament was made possible. Because if we would have had to come out of pocket for the prizes, the great prizes that we had, we would have cut that
Yeah.
donation number almost in half.
Right.
Yeah, we hit about $4,000 this year. I'm looking to hopefully double it, 8, maybe 9, maybe 10.
Let's go for
Uh,
10. Why not?
I
If we
definitely
get
think
50
it's
people.
possible. Shoot for the stars. Oh, well, if you land on the moon, at least you're halfway there.
Exactly.
But
And,
yeah, big goals for this year.
I love it. And where is it going to be hosted at this year?
Again, it'll be at Long Bay Point, tackle shop. That's where
Hmm.
weigh-ins will be. The captain's meeting, just like last year, will be held the Friday prior to it. So the tournament
Okay.
is on Saturday, April 25th.
Yep.
Captain's meeting will be Friday at on the 24th, also at Long Bay Point.
Yep.
Times are TBD.
Okay.
And then we're looking to have an after party of some sort after weigh-ins and to do awards and have everyone together because, like we've talked about, like seeing the community off of the water is a very, very big piece of
Yeah.
the relationships that you build for things like this. And it is such a great cause, and people want to do things about it, and they want to be around other people that are like-minded. So having a
Yeah.
space for us to all connect afterwards and just have a good time and support each other, support the organization, support the cause.
Absolutely. It's like we were talking about, the tribute to the Bay that
Yeah.
Jenny Olmston with Shutter Speed put on. Like just being together off the water was so much fun. And, doing it after having fished all day for, a fun, inshore sport fish, I'll call
Yeah.
it, the redfish, and then getting to hang out,
Yeah.
compare stories while also realizing that like your money that you donated to
Yeah.
compete is going to AES Cancer Foundation, which helps, those kids and families that are dealing with that, impossible diagnosis and that challenging period. Talk us through some of the great prizes. I mean, last year you guys had some awesome prizes.
Oh,
What are
yeah.
we expecting or hoping for this year? And which places pay out, but which places are awarded prizes?
So last year we did first, second, and third place had prizes. And then I opened up Calcutta's at the captain's meeting.
Okay.
Those were cash, but those were like separate
Right.
from the tournament itself. And I'm going to do the same thing with Calcutta's. Those will be determined closer to the tournament, seeing how the fishing's going to be.
Got it.
So first place last year, if I remember correctly, we had a Real Blessed rod donated,
Yep.
and we paired that with a reel that was donated from Ocean's East.
Uh-huh.
And with that, we also had a Yeti cooler
Nice.
and an Ocean's East hat and shirt. And then I believe we had a donation from Chris Ludford with
Hmm.
a certificate for oysters. I
Beautiful.
believe
Yeah.
that there was a $50 certificate for there.
That's awesome.
Second place, we had $100 certificate for oysters with another donation from, I believe it was more apparel. There
Okay.
was another cooler.
Yep.
And then third place was, I believe, strictly certificates. I think there was an Ocean's East certificate, another oyster certificate, um, and I believe a Yeti cup. And then
Nice.
with the Calcuttas, I believe each payout was around $200 to $300
Got it.
per. The Calcuttas were $20 a piece, and if you were all in, I believe first place was fully in and came out with $700 in cash plus all of
Nice.
the prizes. So it ended up being very successful for them. In the side bets, the captains, especially in the area, love their captains bets, their
Oh yeah.
side bets. It
That's the
puts a
best
little bit
part.
more into it, but the prizes were great. This year, I'm looking to do hopefully to fifth place, depending on our numbers.
Okay.
Especially if we hit in that 40 to 50 registration range, which is the goal. I would love to extend it out, even if it's just a gift certificate to fourth and
Right.
fifth place. A little bit
Right.
more incentive.
Yeah.
People love a prize.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And especially
so
the Calcuttas. It's just my personal preference, but if I was going to win, I would want the oysters because Chris Ludford with Pleasure House Oysters. I mean, if you've never had a proper Lynnhaven oyster, the way that the salinity goes in and out and our tides, I mean, it makes one of the best oysters.
yeah,
And I can speak from a little bit of experience having grown up. My family is in the seafood business. I've had oysters from all over, Texas Bay, James River, up through, the Eastern Shore and all those tributaries and down to the Outer Banks of Hatteras. And a Lynnhaven oyster is probably in my top one or two picks in terms of just delicious, nice salty hit, good brine. I mean, it's hard to beat, but
yeah.
I could talk about oysters for an hour. I am curious though on the Calcuttas. Just throwing out an idea to you to do a Calcutta for most spots for
That's one of
redfish.
them. That was one of
Okay,
them last year. Yeah.
nice,
We
nice.
did uh heaviest single fish,
Okay,
most spots, and I believe we had two Calcuttas last year.
okay,
I'm gonna see about opening a third one, maybe another species, see what we can do with that.
nice. Yeah,
I think it'd keep people on their toes,
yeah.
keeps
Because I
people
mean,
out there a little bit longer.
yeah, April 25th, there will definitely be
Hmm.
some speckled trout rolling
Yeah,
around. There's a chance that there could be an inshore flounder
yeah.
caught. So I mean, you could have some fun with it.
Hmm.
But again, I just want people to remember that the purpose of this is to raise money for the Cancer Foundation. So there's gonna be a lot of fun ways to get involved. If sponsors are listening, whether that's somebody that makes cobia jigs or somebody that has an apparel brand or
Yep.
whatever the case, even if they just have a restaurant, whatever the case, if they want to get involved and put some sort of valuable sponsor gift into the pool there, what's the best way that they can get involved with that?
Yeah, so all of the information is accessible via Instagram and Facebook.
Okay,
On both of those, you have access to a link that provides the information for sponsorships. We're
perfect.
just doing one tier of sponsorship this year, which is $150.
Okay,
But if you choose to do a donation, whether that's, like I said, gift certificates, an experience of some sort, apparel, things like that, more physical goods,
yeah,
throw that information into the Google form that's
okay,
on the Instagram and the Facebook. And in the little notes section, just write that. And then
perfect.
my contact information is on all of the forms and on the Instagram. Best way to reach me is just my phone number.
Okay,
And you can just reach out with those details and very happy to connect and work something out. We love the physical donations. It makes this tournament possible, like I said,
yeah,
with prizes. And we're maybe hoping to do some raffles this year if we have enough physical donations.
absolutely.
And another big piece, as to why I kept this so local is the small businesses and
Right.
the role that they play in our community.
Hmm.
So again, getting your name out there, you get a little bit of advertisement, a little bit of business, but ultimately you're supporting a bigger cause. And when people see small companies, small brands,
Hmm.
small businesses supporting a bigger idea,
Yeah,
something bigger than themselves, then you tend to have a lot of reoccurring support from the people that you're advertising to. But yeah,
absolutely.
those links are on the Instagram and also on the Facebook. Contact me directly if there's any issues. I'm very quick to get back.
Very cool. And I'm assuming we're going to see all the usual suspects, Mike Roby on Hooked on Hope. We're going to see Eric Myers
Of
at Heads and
course.
Tails. We're going to see
Yep.
probably your dad. Although I don't know how he's going to fish from that giant boat for Puppy Drum, but I'm sure he'll figure out a way.
Oh,
Of
don't
course,
worry. We own so
other
many other
boats.
boats. So many.
That's true. That is true. I
He'll just
forgot
take
about
one of
that.
the center consoles.
One of the smaller ones. So
Yeah.
before we wrap up, I do want to cover rules. So what are
Mhm.
some of the key rules in the tournament that folks need to be aware of, whether they're fishing from boat, kayak, or on land?
So just making sure when you are registering, you're registering with the intended vessel or not vessel that you're fishing with. If there's an issue where you think you're fishing in a kayak and you're moving to a boat, shoot me a text. We can cover
Right.
the difference. We can figure it out. If you and a buddy decide you don't want to fish in your kayaks anymore, we can just connect to the two registrations, your payments there, fish in your boat together.
Perfect.
Along with that, make sure you're fishing in Virginia waters. We didn't have any issues last year, nothing really to be concerned about. Fish that you bring to the scales need to obviously be within slot.
Mhm.
And just making sure you're paying attention. We ultimately want to protect our waterways. These things aren't possible if we're not protecting
Yeah.
the waters themselves. And then I feel like those are the big two. Just make sure you're following the laws. We want
Yeah.
this to be able to continue as long as possible. Basic boat safety. Keep yourself safe. Keep your crew safe. We want you guys to return back. We want you to be able to make it to the dock.
Right.
You can bring in your fish either by boat straight to Long Bay Point
Mhm.
on the water, or you can drive them in just depending on where you're fishing. In the registration forms, there is a rule sheet you have to sign and agree to with like more specific acknowledgments. There's going to be a time that you have to have your fish to the dock by. That's TBD, just
Okay.
based on
Weather, start time,
weather.
etc.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we want to look at it like it's over a month away, so we're going to start to look at weather patterns, things like that. Again, how the fishing is going.
Yeah.
But other than that, basic safety, basic courtesy. We're all there for the same purpose, and it's not about the fishing, it's more so about the community and what we're doing. So just
100%.
basic respect.
Yep. And I keep hearing you talk about safety and respect. And I'm reminded that, you worked so many years as a mate on the charter
Yeah.
boat. So these are things that are very familiar to you,
Mm-hmm.
that you keep top of mind. And I do want to reiterate it, even though it's puppy drum fishing, it's inshore, kayak, boat, whatever. Definitely always put safety first. Make sure you
Always.
got your Coast Guard stuff. I was down at Long Bay Point, a week and a half ago, fueling up and saw the Coast Guard there. Saw Captain Chris with Takedown Sport Fishing, and
Yeah.
he was waving down the Coast Guard to get his early inspection because he was all excited, which made me think, I haven't checked my flares or my fire extinguisher
Yeah.
in a hot minute. And sure enough, they were going to expire in June. So I got ahead of that curve. Actually went with the new, I think it is the ASC brand, but going for the flameless signaling device this time instead. So it's like a little, LED flashlight torch looking thing, but it satisfies both the daytime. It satisfies the daytime by providing the big old flag, and then nighttime, of course, with the LED. So it's a little bit. I guess you can just kind of have that long term and just change the batteries
Yeah,
every year.
that's nice.
Instead of flares. But at any rate, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be great. You guys, you heard it. It's Tight Lines for Tiny Fighters. Ava Bourne, she's putting it on April the 25th. Go find the socials, Instagram, Facebook. And then, of course, if you want to get involved, shoot her a text, 757-807-0725. Or fill out the Google form. Definitely want to get some sponsors involved. So if you're listening to this and you've got any sort of cash or non-cash prize that you want to help out with, please give her a shout and get involved. Anything that we didn't cover that's important for folks to know about the upcoming event?
Just a big thank you to everyone that helped support last year, whether it was just a simple share on Instagram or Facebook, anything in between, sending your friends, my way towards the tournament. Again, the community is the reason that it was all possible. It's not a large scale organization, and it's obviously still in the very beginning and the early works of it all, but it is something that I look forward to doing for the foreseeable future. Maybe extending it into 2 tournaments a year. So
Nice.
again, just a big thank you to all the brands, all the companies, all the businesses in the area that supported, all the people, the individuals, the charter captains, name it in between. Like I said, it's all possible due to y'all, and let's hopefully continue this for years to come.
Absolutely. I'm hoping we're going to hit that 50 mark. And of course,
Yeah.
we'll do a tournament recap after it's done. I'm going to probably just enter and tie off to Eric Meyer's boat and just,
There you go.
follow him around.
Which one? You might have all three out.
I know, right? The pink dinghy, the big dinghy. He's got so many dinghies, but he would probably slap me for saying that. But there is somebody else I want to give a big shout out to, and that is Jenny Ohmson with Shutter Speed. She captures so many great moments from the tournament. And if you guys have never heard her before, go check her out. She's got some really cool shots from last year. And yeah, it's going to be cool. And I was, before we hit record, showing you that picture of that little guy holding up that puppy drum. And just give us a quick update. So last year when he was there, what was he dealing with and how is he doing now?
Yeah, so last year, I guess March, we had early April last year, because it was my spring break for school. Again, like looking towards the early stages of remission. And now looking back a couple of months, bell rang, looking into remission, sitting in remission right now. They were my first registration, actually, the whole family for the tournament, first sponsors. And yeah, looking great. He's playing t-ball. He's living his best life.
That's
He's doing
awesome.
great things. It's exciting to see, kids go into remission. It's exciting to see adults go into remission. But, just knowing that each family's walking through something so different, but in a way that they all are able to connect, whether it's a family that's lost a child or has had a very successful situation. Everyone walks through the treatment, and it's important to share community and know that, at the end of the day, we're all human and we're all walking through our own thing. And
that's
again, just an organization for a much bigger cause than ourselves and much bigger than fishing. But fishing is something that brings a lot of this community together, and it's important to recognize that and use it to our advantage.
Amen to that. And I'll close with also giving a shout out to Mr. Trip Seed with Bay Roamer Charter, who founded AES. I go back to the awards that Mike Roby did for Hooked on Hope when everybody was there together and got to hear the story, of how these things came together. Of course, your dad was getting emotional, and I mean, I swear your dad could be a pastor. The way he got up there and just started, sharing, and everybody was like so engaged. It was awesome. But yeah, well, Ava, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for this event, April the 25th, Tight Lines for Tiny Fighters. Thanks for coming on the show and sharing about last year's success and some of your goals for this year, and I wish you the very best.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, absolutely. Folks, that's going to wrap up a quick recap of Tight Lines for Tiny Fighters, what happened last year, what's hopefully going to happen this year. Stick around for a quick word from some of our sponsors, and we'll be back with you real soon.
Turn your dock into more than just a place to park your boat with Slipski's Dorado Oasis cover. Engineered for both beauty and protection, the Dorado Oasis transforms your dock into a shaded, all-weather living space, perfect for relaxing by the water or entertaining friends. Built from marine-grade aluminum and premium fabric, it also provides year-round protection from sun, rain, and debris. Whether you're lounging dockside or keeping your boat covered and ready to go, Slipski delivers comfort, convenience, and peace of mind. Slipski, think outside the boathouse. Visit slipski.com.
All right, guys, it's time to hop on up the bay a little ways and catch up with Captain CL Marshall, Tangier Sound Charters. How we doing, Cap? Neither of us are at home right now.
No, we're not. I think your weather is probably a little warmer than mine, although mine's not bad. I'm watching the sun come up over the Gulf right now, not far from Destin, Florida, and looking forward to finding your buddy on the bloodline here soon.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but you're over there in the DR, right?
Yes, sir. The Dominican, first time down here, checking out a couple of these signature golf courses. There's a reason you see a lot of golf and country yacht and country clubs. Golf is my other passion besides fishing. So down here with some buddies exploring some of these top rated courses that they've got. I think one of them's called Teeth of the Dog. It's number one. But I'll tell you what was really tough about being on that course yesterday, and I got several messages from my buddies. It's all right along the coast, and I mean, you can see that ice blue water line, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here and I'm not getting a chance to go fishing. But from what I hear, it's killer. All the pelagics, anything you want right here, just not even a mile off the beach, and you're in them.
Yeah, so Luke, I got to tell you, man, it was something my dad told me a long time ago. There you are playing Teeth of the Dog, one of the best golf courses, arguably on the East Coast, and your mind's out there fishing. So about the fish out there. So what my dad used to tell me, and it's real simple when you think about it, is stay where your feet are, man. Stay where your feet are.
I like that.
Yeah. And I was thinking about that a few months ago as I was finishing up my new book, which is available for sale today on Barnes and Noble.
Oh,
Uh,
congrats. I didn't realize it had actually been published.
yeah, it's out. It's breathing. It's live. It's called Seasons of the Chesapeake, and one of the stories in it is called "Stay Where Your Feet Are." And it's I was in Puerto Rico recently, and it was the last week of January. How fresh that story is, and the people at home were. It was the probably the best waterfowl hunting we'd had over any number of years. And my son and all my friends were just pounding pictures of me, of not of me, but of ducks they had killed and retrieves a dog was making, and it was constant. It was a constant bombardment of pictures as I was out on the flats bone fishing. Okay,
Oh, nice.
and I just was like, I don't want to. I can't, and every time I'd hear it ding, I knew what it was. And
Right.
on this one particular time, I'm hooked up on this bonefish, and it's I'm just having a blast. Ding, 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 in come the text. And I'd steered the fish around this piece of coral twice, right? And I lost my focus for a minute. I didn't stay where my feet were. And and that fish ran by that piece of coral again and parted my line. And it was
Mm.
my fault because I didn't stay where my feet were. So
Man, I gotta kind of just like reflect on that for a second because that's such great advice. And I think it applies not just in fishing, obviously, but in life in general, that saying stay where your feet are. So tell us again, what's the name of the book?
the name of the book is Seasons of the Chesapeake.
Seasons of the
And
Chesapeake.
yep, it's a collection of short stories that talks about some of the more humorous and harrowing fishing and hunting trips that we've had. And they're
Nice.
short stories. And I'd like to say that they are, it's ideal for people with short attention spans like us. You don't have to be a you don't have to be
Right.
a big reader to do it. And one of the best ways that folks like us can get through it is to put it by the toilet, and every time you sit
Mm.
down you can
Hmm.
read a story because the timing's pretty good for that. So
I see where you're going with this. Got it.
but
Roger,
yeah,
Roger that.
yeah, this is my fifth book on the Chesapeake Bay that we've got coming out, and I'm very pleased with this one. This one takes a different, more introspective spin, and I called it Seasons of the Chesapeake, Luke, because like there's one story in there called November, and the opening line in that one I think is the best opening line I've ever written about something like that. It says November ain't what she used to be.
Mm.
And if you think about it with global warming and seasonality and the way November has changed with what was available to us 20 years ago versus now. And
Oh
it's
yeah.
then there's one called May, and then there's one called April, and one called February. And
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, and probably one of my favorite ones that I've done in this book is called Virginia Gentleman. And it's a story about a friend of mine who I used to catch him in high school. He was a pitcher, right?
Okay.
And he could bring some mid 80s stuff in high school. And he was just wild enough to keep you off balance, but had
Hmm.
enough control, they'd make you look like a fool with that curveball. And and we played a very aggressive game, and we'd hit a couple batters a game. We usually hit somebody in the first or second inning. Uh,
Right.
he'd either do it because he was a little wild, uh,
Hmm.
both on the mound and in real life, and or maybe I just somebody I didn't like the shoelaces, and we'd plunk him in the back just for shits and grins.
Oh my goodness.
We always like to set that precedent early, that hey, we're sure where this ball's going.
Right. That's so funny. Well, I hear what you're saying about these seasons of change. And, I love that you're kind of like an observer of these things and also like keen enough to stop and capture them too, because, we kind of all, live very fast these days. And it's really good to have these stories that kind of capture these historical, times where like, November 2020 or November 2005 or 2006, what the bay was like then and what the fishery was like then. Things are changing, and we're going to see we're going to see that continue to happen. So my hat's off to you for capturing those stories. And I also think it's neat that, you're a writer, you're a published writer, charter guide, and more recently you've dipped your toes. I want to just get like a quick 30,000 foot view. So what are you doing now with, I keep seeing something about like the House of Delegates or the senator or I don't know all the exact right terms, but what exactly are you doing in the political realm now to help out in your community?
What I'm doing is I'm running for delegate in District 38A, which is, the Berlin, Snow Hill, Princess Anne, Crisfield area.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing that primarily because the gentleman there who holds that seat is not running. He's a great farmer, a great man. He's doing a good job for us down here on the Eastern Shore, but he's elected not to run again. And
Wow.
yeah, and that's cool. Everybody's got to live their own life.
Yeah.
And I've been up there many times recently on the striped bass issue and on the oyster issue and on the Sunday hunting issue. And the more I'm up there, I just really want to. I just really want to stand up for that lower shore area, the area in which I live, work, and play. And I feel like that. Oftentimes we're not included in the conversations. It's not that we don't have a seat at the table. We get run over by the numbers that are everywhere else. And I just really I want to be like Horton Hears a Who. We're here, we're here, we're here, and and advocate for us. Most recently,
Right.
there's they give other fairs through the state awarded them 40, 50, $80,000, and in Pocomoke they want to give us 20. Well, I'm on the horn already about this, going, hey, that's not fair to us. We want
Right.
equity here. And I just want to stand up for our way of life. I want to protect it. I want to make sure we're not covered up with solar panels. And I could go on about that forever, but let's talk about fishing.
No, I'm glad you told me what you're doing. And again, it's kind of like taking time to capture the stories that you put in the book. I think about like Captain Bill Pappas and some others who've gone and, fought for things for the fishermen. There's this sort of like old guard, I feel like you and others are a part of that are seeing the forest for the trees and realizing like, hey, if we don't proactively do things and take action, eventually, as you refer to it, those with bigger numbers will just kind of eventually overtake and overrun things. So my hat's off to you for getting involved.
When I was up there, Luke, I don't know which time it was. I've been up there a lot, testifying a lot, and I know that the things that I advocate for, and especially in terms of fishing, and I know that they're not going to please everybody, but I try to take a more equitable stance on it, for involvement. On the bill that I was testifying against, 755, they were trying to take away our Maryland catch and release fishery, which would in effect close access to fishermen, to Maryland stakeholders, from December 5th through May 1st, telling the residents of Maryland they cannot fish for their state fish, even on a catch and release basis,
Wow.
for 100 days. And for charter boats like myself and others, that's really that was uncool.
It's your livelihood. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So anyhow, but the thing that really solidified it to me as I was going through this process, and this process has been going on for some time. I was standing at the State House looking down at the Great Seal of Maryland, and it's actually it's a mosaic tile thing which was made by Jacqueline Bizzuto, who actually resides on the Eastern Shore of Virginia. Jacqueline, she's a wonderful artist. It was made by her and a company she works with called New Ravenna out of Exmoor, Virginia. But I'm looking at it, and you know what it is? It's a farmer and a fisherman.
Oh,
That's
cool.
what it is. And I'm looking at it going, we're a long way from that right now, and that was like, I was like, okay, they need to hear the voice of the fisherman. They need to hear the voice of the farmer. And so I went and filed for this damn thing. I went and filed to be involved in a race for a job that everybody's going to criticize for and for terrible pay.
Right. Yeah. No, but I mean, it is a thankless job, but somebody that has the right perspective, the right motives and agendas has got to be doing it. And I'm glad that it's you for that reason. But like you said, let's talk fishing. So speaking of seasons of change, we're right here on the cusp of this spring turnover. So where you are in the Chesapeake, what have you been seeing over the past couple of weeks?
Got to tell you, we have had one of the best couple months of crappie and yellow perch fishing of that I can ever remember. Now, it's not big fish and, all this. These are, these are panfish. And Matt Abel at Seahawk, before we were casting and using little bobbers like popping corks and stuff like that for them, and we were relatively ineffective in finding them in any great numbers. Well, with the availability of the Humminbird side scan now and the job that it does, and
Right.
and some redneck ingenuity, Matt Abel, I got to give Matt from Seahawk credit for this. He came up with a way for us to troll. Yeah,
Really?
yeah, it's weird. For these panfish, these yellow perch and these crappie, and we're slow. It's almost like trolling eels for rockfish. It's almost like that. It's a real slow.
Interesting.
And we are crushing them, dude. We are absolutely crushing these fish, and it works. It's shad darts on a little with a quarter-ounce sinker on the bottom of it, a couple of shad darts, and then varying the depth with a bobber, and just slow trolling that through the fish we're able to locate on the side scan, and we can adjust the depth with the bobber, and but it is effective, and we are mashing them. And it's not uncommon during these trips to pick up some pickerel. For some reason, the pickerel don't seem to bite through the leader for whatever reason. I think it's more luck than anything.
Right.
So yeah, it's
They got
yellow
some teeth.
yeah, it's yellow perch and and crappie. Just a lot of this is in the Pocomoke River and many rivers like it.
So it's brackish water.
It is brackish water, and
Got it.
it's something to do. Now, when the water temperature spiked a little bit the other week, it was blue catfish central, dude. I mean, think about how many blue catfish have got to be on the bottom if we're catching them trolling shad darts, lip tip with minnows. It's got to be.
Yeah, that's and here's a dumb question, but I just realized that I don't know the answer. Pocomoke River, brackish water.
Yep.
How does it become brackish? Obviously, it opens up into the bay, which is connected to the ocean. So there's your salt. But what introduces the fresh water? Where does the fresh water come from?
The Pocomoke River is 67 miles long, which is huge. It runs from Shelltown, where it dumps into the bay, Shelltown, Maryland. It ends in Bethel, Delaware. So that's a lot of watershed that it collects from the area of farmland and drainage and all that. So that's where the fresh comes.
Got it.
It's a deep river, and it's dark, and it's named the Pocomoke, which means dark water in Algonquin, because of the tannic acid that the knees of the cypress trees produce. And you'll see
Interesting.
You'll see that in the Great Dismal Swamp. You'll see that up on the Neuse River and other places there. The Pocomoke is the northernmost stand of bald cypress trees in the United States.
Wow. Okay. That was much more than I expected for an answer, but that's also super interesting. So when you talk about the knees of the cypress trees, that's like when you're in those like shallows, you see like the cypress tree going down, and then you see all those like kind of exposed roots up above the water.
Yeah, they're the things that'll wreck your lower unit. So watch out for those.
Yeah. Clunk. Oh no.
Oh no.
Or your trolling motor.
Yeah, so that's been good. That's been amazing. And as the water temperature went up in some of the areas of the tributaries, we had temps into the mid almost to 52, 53. And then with the snowfall, it dropped again, which is going to extend that yellow perch and that crappie bite. The white perch are right behind it. That's getting better every day. We caught half a dozen the other day in about 20 minutes. But I had some people that had some bigger numbers too. So that's
fun, easy. That's fun, easy fishing too. So like if you're somebody that's got young kids, or maybe you're brand new, or you know that maybe you get seasick or whatever the case, and you just want to go have a fun fishing experience, like this is it, because it's in calm water. The bite's going to be pretty happening. There's always going to be something going on. And you said a second ago about adjusting the bobbers. And what does that actually mean? So is that changing the depth that the actual bait or lure is at?
Yeah. You can see them right on your side scan. You know where they are. And so you can adjust the bobber, and what that'll do is up or down. And that way you can just drag your baits right through them. And it's a Matt Abel deserves all the credit for that.
Right.
He came up with this little redneck way to catch them, and it's been really
So
effective.
you're trolling lines that go to a bobber that then have the baits
Yep.
at the end of them. And then so again, kind of an ignorant question, but are these like the traditional bobbers where you just kind of squeeze and a little, thing
Yeah.
pops up and you just go up and down the line with it?
Same thing.
Easy day, right? I remember
Easy day.
back in the day when I first got my start fishing, I was fishing a lot for speckled trout, and we used these I think they were called slip bobber rigs
Yeah. That's what it is.
for the live shiner.
Yeah.
So it's like you tie that little piece of thread and then you would just kind of like slide that up or down, and it made it to where I'm trying to remember, it was like you could reel up and cast, and then that bobber or that line would let it go down, because sometimes we were trying to fish 15 feet deep or whatever it is.
Mhm.
You can't cast a 15-foot leader, obviously.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Black Buffalo products are intended for adults age 21 and older who are consumers of nicotine or tobacco.
If you're 21 or older and use nicotine or tobacco, it's time you charge ahead to Black Buffalo, America's only credible smokeless tobacco alternative. Black Buffalo dips just like the real thing, but without the tobacco leaf or stem. Get it now at Wawa, Circle K, Sheetz, Love's, Pilot, Racetrack, and many more that you can see on their store locator at blackbuffalo.com. Black Buffalo Tobacco Alternative is everything you love about dip, nothing you don't.
So that's been good up in the rivers. And and rock fishing has been really good too. Catch and release rock fishing. I say really good. It's been, it is, March almost.
Right.
I guess it is. It is March. Yeah, it is March, and the fish are migrating up the bay right now,
Mm-hmm.
and some drone footage has just. It's just huge numbers of them marching northward. Up near the Susquehanna Flats area, Captain John Rogers is having a tremendous year on intermittently on huge blue cats and on big rockfish, which is catch and release only right now. And
Got it.
The Susquehanna Flats area will close on April 1st. But it's that's been great. Other captains up in the area have been, fishing the Patuxent and other rivers up there. Uh, even in the Potomac now, after the shit spill, even that started to come around a little bit. Man, the solution is dilution's what they say, but
The solution is dilution. The
yeah.
solution is just to try not to spill in the first place. But obviously, there's, I guess some accidents happen. But that's exciting, though, to hear about some of those bigger rockfish. Are we talking like 40-inch plus, the
We are.
big ones?
Yeah, and it's amazing. Yeah, it is amazing. The fishery is going to do nothing but get better every day. These fish right now, they're in they're in actually shallow water. I went the other day behind an Ancock, and we caught a dozen of these fish. Yeah, we were using Shad Rap 10s, and what we would seek out is the bottom contour, a rolling bottom contour, if you will, where there'd be a sandbar with a trough in the middle of it, and we would focus on those troughs, and we would cast right down and parallel to the edges. And with a Shad Rap 10 or something similar to that, a suspending jerk bait with a slow presentation, we just mashed them, man. A big fish was 42 inches.
Jeez,
I know.
on spinning gear, that's so fun.
Yeah,
And
it is.
especially casting those jerk baits, because that's like a really, I'm picturing it, working that suspending jerk bait kind of slow, and the way that striped bass, similar to bass, hit is it can sometimes be a little subtle. And I'm curious, like with those 42 inches, that 42-inch one, those bigger ones, like what was that bite like on that suspending jerk bait?
The fish, the water temperature was cold on that day, and it is right now probably in the mid 40s today. We had 47, and then it kind of dropped. But the bite is much like you've hooked into a pole. The bait just stops,
Yeah.
and it's not a very aggressive bite. It's a very subtle bite. Sometimes it's just no more than, if you're throwing a soft plastic, especially, it's just a little tick.
Yeah.
Something very light as they inhale it, and then things change quickly. But
Because they're an ambush. So like similar with like speckled trout, they ambush it from what, head on or from behind?
The side or behind.
Side or behind. So that's actually moving that bait closer to you, not away from you. So like you're saying, it's very subtle where like it's not until
Yeah.
you do that next twitch or you pull that line up that you realize that the bait is no longer coming towards you.
Yep. And one of the things that we do out of habit, out of necessity, is we pull off all the treble hooks, and we run single hooks on these things.
Smart.
Yeah, and that's more. I'd like to say that it was more for me, for the fish and the safeties of the fish, which is true. But a lot of
Getting
it's
them out of the net.
yeah. There's that, and then there's me. I worry
Right.
about
Your own personal safety.
my own personal safety. I worry about that as well.
Treble
Uh,
hooks are very dangerous when you really think about it. You don't have, there's no real easy way to grab hold of them, with your hands. You're either pliers or calling 911.
Yeah, and especially now, Luke, since and when the water's cold and the bite is so light, many times when you're close to the boat, the fish will come unhooked, which is fine because we're going to release them anyhow. But that treble hook comes back at you like a ballistic missile, and
Yeah.
just getting out of the
Scary.
way. Yeah, it's scary, and sometimes where it lands is pretty indiscriminate.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one of the other things I'm curious about too is so on our other segment we talked with a local gal, Ava Bourne, who's a young person, kind of
Mhm.
reminds me of you. She's very involved in the fishing community. Her dad's a charter captain, retired Marine, and she's doing her second fishing tournament that she's hosting, and all the proceeds, 100% of the cash proceeds, benefit a local cancer foundation that helps families that are going through pediatric cancer. So it's really neat to see people actually doing things in the community. But what they're going to focus on in their tournament is going to be redfish. So I'm curious for you, when does the redfish come into the picture from a water temperature perspective? Because I know that's one of your favorite fish to target.
As soon as I get home, as soon as
Oh,
I get home, I am set
nice.
on go. I get home, whenever the hell I get home, Saturday night, and I'm going to
Hmm.
the Annapolis Anglers Club has a show at the Elks Lodge in Annapolis on Sunday, so I'll be there.
Okay.
Looking
Yep.
forward to being there, and always support those guys. They do a great job, so I'll be there to support them and book some charters and whatever. So we'll be there.
Hmm.
We'll be there. But as soon as that's done next week, now my magic number is 50. And a lot of things are going to occur relatively quickly. I think we'll catch the first black drum maybe next week if we get some
Okay.
good weather changing. The water
Hmm.
temperature approaches 50, and I'll catch him in 3 to 4 feet of water in the shallows. Uh, and the reds should be just right now at the mouth of the bay stage and waiting to come in the bay. God, I hope so, because I cannot wait.
Yeah.
And another thing that happens coincidentally is the state of Virginia, and nothing but praise for the VMRC and the Virginia Saltwater Fishing Tournament with the way they operate with the citation program,
Mm,
because they print them alphabetically,
right.
amberjack, black sea bass, right down the line, and now they're on R. So right about the time we're going to be starting to catch these red drum, the people that
Citations come in.
citations come in the mail. It's great for rebooking.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's
That reminder. Hey, that was
yeah,
fun.
that was fun. I want to do that again. And then it's an amazing program they have, and it's something. And people ask, "Can I keep these fish?" And I'm like, "No, man, you can't keep the fish, but you're going to get a plaque on the wall, and you're going to get a picture to put under it that'll serve a lifetime of memories long after the dinner's forgotten about."
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's too bad. I don't know if it exists or not, but my good buddy Butch Theory, who's the owner operator of Great Days Outdoors, which is what brings us this podcast, recently got his buck of a lifetime. We called him Buckzilla, and giant. I think he measured whatever it was, 136 gross, just big, beautiful buck, biggest one he's ever seen. And I did the digital taxidermy for him just as a little, gift until his
Yeah.
actual, mount gets done. And man, it came out so cool. I mean, it looks like you send them a scene of, where you picture that, where did you see that deer? What's the last thing you saw before you pulled the trigger? And they recreate it using a picture of the antlers. And I mean, it looks exactly like the real thing. It's too bad they don't have that. Maybe they do for fish.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of that, we partnered this year with a taxidermy company, so we'll be able to actually, myself and Tom Weaver and a few of the other guides in the Maryland Light Tackle Guides Association are now partnered with a taxidermy company, not Gray's, it was another one, and we're able to provide that service, and which I think is key. We're releasing these
Oh
fish,
yeah.
and it's just a nice addition to their quiver.
Yeah. And I've gotten one fish in my entire life taxidermied, and shout out to my uncle Bruce, who introduced me to cobia fishing back in 2014. And then when I sent him a picture of this big speckled trout that I caught, he immediately said, "Hey, you got to get that mounted." And he sent me to his buddy in Hampton. And I'll never forget, I kept it in a cooler for like 3 days and then got it up there and showed it to him. And, he went so detailed with the spots and everything and made this big, beautiful speckled trout mount. And it was one of the neatest things, like you were saying. To this day, it's in the wall in my office. I've got the plaque, the citation plaque.
Right.
And then the mounted fish above it. And I can't tell you the number of times that I've gotten to relive that encounter when somebody comes to my office and says, "Oh, what's that?" And it's like, "Oh, 2013, whatever it was, 7 pounds something, and like 27, 28 inches long." And I mean, just this awesome memory. But getting it taxidermied is just such a cool way to have that, memory live on.
We ran up with these folks we went in the long winter months, man. We went up to way too many shows. We went up to the Chesapeake Bay Boat Show. We went up there, which was amazing. Then we went to Harrisburg, and the Harrisburg show. If you've never been there, I strongly recommend that you come. We will have a booth there next year, the Maryland Light Tackle Guides Association. If you want to book a trip to hunt iguanas from a helicopter in Namibia, there's a guy there that's going to book it for you.
Iguanas from a helicopter. That sounds exciting. My cousin Robbie over there at Sam Russ, he actually him and his dad Robert just went somewhere. I forget where they were, and they got to do iguana hunting from a boat in a river, where they stalked them from the boat, which is cool. And I always love hearing something like that too, because not only is it super fun, but you're helping eradicate, a super invasive species. But man, I'm excited. I feel like this is going to be a good year of fishing ahead. And you said something earlier that piqued my interest, because I realized I've never actually caught one, and I need to, is a black drum. Those things are strong, powerful,
and they're delicious.
So, okay, I've heard that before, and I've heard people talking about like smoking the ribs and all these different ways. So how do you like to prepare a black drum? And do you have any preference on like the general size of the fish if you're going to actually harvest it?
Yeah, I guess it's a little different over on the Eastern Shore where I grew up. The black drum it's a signal. It's one of the signals that spring has arrived. Because with the arrival of the black drum, the azaleas are in bloom, the ospreys are here in full force. The dogwoods are blooming. It's all those things that kind of point that, hey, this is really spring. And when you see on the local billboards and menu boards for the local restaurants and all that, they're serving drum.
Got it.
You're just serving. You'd be hard pressed to sell a piece of drum in July. Okay. But in May,
everywhere,
every person who has any connection at all with the Eastern Shore area is going to get a drum sandwich because it's the rite of passage for spring. People say, "Oh, they're wormy." Well, yeah, they're in the tail section. There's some worms there. I guess they're worms of some sort. And you just cut them out. You throw them away. Don't eat them. I wouldn't recommend it. But the rest of the flesh on the fish is delicious. They're some bitch to clean, I can tell you that. And
because they've got those really hard. The scales on those fish are almost like armor, right?
They're a dinosaur, man. And I use a sawzall is what I do.
Really?
I break out a power tool, man. Absolutely. Cut right down the top of him. And after you get through the scales by cutting down the dorsal, then you can take your fillet knife and pop him right off, and then cut out your individual fillets. And I only do that to get to the ribs, which are the best part of the fish. I take a pair of wire cutters and I cut the ribs out. and I like a 2 to 3 bone a piece of ribs. I like them barbecued on the grill with some Carolina Gold sauce from Kinder's.
Ooh, yeah.
That's just me. But
Yeah.
they're deep fried. They're delicious, and people say, "Well, it can't be much rib." The intercostals on these things are huge and they're delicious. And we had a really good year on black drum last year, very strong year. And I'm hoping we do this year because my forecast for the speckled trout fishery is not too strong
Okay.
because of the winter. So I'm hoping that this we'll have good numbers of black drum, which will kind of give us some activity. Um,
Right.
when we're not fishing for reds. And the neat thing about it is because of when those fish bite on the tide cycle, we
Yeah.
we can fish for them in times of low red drum activity and then move up and switch to reds, when the time is right. They don't bite on the same tide cycle,
Okay.
the same part of the tide. So it's two different experiences in one trip.
Got it. Got it. And black drum and red drum too. I mean, their primary food source is what?
With red drum is pretty much whatever's available. I mean, we'll catch
Okay.
them with any luck at all this year. We'll catch them on artificial lures. We'll catch them on popping corks. We'll catch them on crab. We'll catch them on cut fish. We'll catch them on live bait. They're a very resourceful fish. The black drum, pretty much bottom feeder. Uh,
Okay.
I one of the things that I've done over the past 2 weeks is I've been clamming a lot. They love
Ah,
clams. They love clams.
interesting.
Yes, I've
Yeah.
taken a little. I've caught. I don't know. In my freezer, I've probably got 1,000 big chatter clams that I caught.
Oh yeah. You can
So they,
sometimes find those where you like walk around in some of the shallow sandy areas, and if you just kind of dig around with your feet a little bit, you'll find
yep,
them. At least in the Lynnhaven, you can. In fact, one time we collected, I don't know, 10 or 15 of them, and made clam chowder.
yeah, exactly. And I've
Yeah.
had that. But what I look for those sandy areas, especially when we have ice like we did this year.
Hmm.
It's kind of cheating because the ice, as it runs across the top of the sand, will kind of expose these clams, making them very easy to find.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just walk through with the clam rake and just pop them. You can see them and
There
just
you go.
pop them up and drop them in the basket. So,
That's
old
exciting.
old bull trick.
Oh yeah. Well, man, you've got some sunrise activities to do there down in Santa Rosa Beach, and I've got a round of golf to get to. Any last excitement that's on the front of your uh, dash there as you look into this spring bite before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just look forward to going. I just look
Yeah.
forward to it. I look forward to chasing those drum when I get home. I look forward to just getting back out there, man. It's such a cool place. It's such a cool place we call home. Uh,
Yeah.
I've
It
got a
really
lot.
is.
I've got a lot of things. I try to stay busy. Um, the new book, Seasons of the Chesapeake, is available on Barnes and Noble. You can
Okay.
find it there. Those guys were great to work with. They're my new publisher. I'm happy to
Awesome.
say. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. So I'm happy with that. Very happy with the book. So you can find it there. So that's out. I'm deep in this race for delegate right now. We've got a fundraiser on April the 11th at the Pit and Pub in Rumley. Oysters and pig. What else would you
Mm.
want?
I
And
mean, life is good to be Captain CL right now. You're not busy, so that's good. And I know
right.
that'll make you appreciate and love those times that you get to go out there and fish just that much more. And if folks are listening and they're like, "Hey, I want to go up in that Upper Bay, Middle Bay area and get
Yeah.
out there and go for reds or black drum or speckled trout when the time comes," just remind us what kind of boat do you run and how do they contact you to
Yeah,
book a
man.
trip?
We've got that new Parker 25, and we're excited about that with a brand new Suzuki outboard on it, thanks to Sandpiper
Yeah,
Marine and Suzuki Marine. We've got that. That's a full transom boat with
nice.
just with a new Humminbird Explorer side scan and new radar put on it. So we're just rolling along. Nice, it's a nice platform to fish off of. Oh, I got to tell you this before we go.
What's that?
This was cool, Blue. I was, I guess I'm a little different than most people. Uh,
We all are.
that's what makes it fun. So I was thinking about how to separate what I do from everybody else who runs charter trips, because there's a lot of
Right.
people out there like this.
Oh yeah.
I came up with this idea, and I've booked 2 of these trips, and we're going to fish the last week of May from bridge to bridge. We're going to start at the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. We're going to be down there fishing for redfish and black drum, and cobia, because I think they'll be there then. And
Yep.
we're going to fish there. Then we're going to move to a Nancock. We're going to fish out of a Nancock. From there, we're going to fish out of Tangier, Smith Island, and then from Tangier, we're going to fish the whole island chain up to Hooper's Island. And then from Hoopers, we're going to fish out around Hoopers Light, move up toward the Chop Tank River into Cambridge. And then from Cambridge, we're going to fish north to the Eastern Bay area and up to Kent Island. That's one charter.
Wow.
4 people, 1 trip, bridge to bridge, an epic Chesapeake Bay adventure. And
How many
staying
days
in,
is that gonna span?
we allowed 6 days for it.
6. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
It is, and we're going to stay in a Nancock. We're going to stay at Maurice in a Nancock. We're going to stay at the Bella Vista at Tangier. We're going to stay in Riverside Lodge in Hooper's Island. We're going to stay at the Captain's House in Cambridge. All these really cool, iconic places from the Chesapeake Bay. And then
That's so cool.
The cool thing is 4 women booked it. These
Dude,
women
that's
are
amazing.
These are badass fishermen, man. I could not have been happier with this. They booked
It
the
sounds like a
first one.
book. It sounds like a book that's going to get written, bridge to bridge.
It is, and it's 100. It's a logistics puzzle.
Right.
But I think we've got it figured out, and I look forward to sharing this journey with Donna and Margaret and the whole crew, man. Because I fished with these ladies before, and they're badass. They
That's
are
awesome, man.
badass. Yeah. So
That's
we're going to
so
do
cool.
a bridge to bridge trip, and you folks have not. People ask me like, why are you doing that? I'm like, because I can, and
Right.
because it's cool, and
Well, and it also captures that spectrum of like all the species that are available between those 2 bridges. So that's going to be a really, I can't wait to hear how that trip actually goes at the end of May. And then in terms of like booking availability, if folks are wanting to book, what dates do you have available? Like, what's the earliest availability?
I've got dates available as quickly as next week.
Okay. Perfect.
I always try to hold some, and because you never know what's going to happen. So, but the
Yep.
best way to reach me is by phone at 410-251-7341. You can look us up on the social media platforms at Tangier Sound Charters. Or you can shoot me an email at clmarshall@comcast.net. And you can throw a smoke signal up like the bunny people did. I don't care. Just hit me up, and we'll find a mutually agreeable date to make this happen. And most importantly, Luke, don't 3-putt. My God, don't 3-putt today.
I will try not to. So I got a boogie and go get to that tea time that starts here in about 22 minutes. But always a pleasure having you on, man. And congrats on the book. And I'll be saying a prayer that you get your seat in the House of Delegates there.
Yeah, I thank you, Luke. I really appreciate that. Yep,
absolutely.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. Folks, that's going to wrap up a really fun and educational segment. I hope you learned something, because I always learn when Captain CL's talking, and sometimes he'll just, slip it right into the conversation, but there's a lot of nuggets of wisdom in there. So my thing today is going to be to stay where my feet are. Folks, that's going to wrap it up. Stick around for a quick word from our sponsors. We'll be back with you real soon.
The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. What you need are the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. So make the choice that captains all up and down the East Coast make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free APCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaner Cloth, text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep on whacking them and be safe out there.